Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa, and today, to celebrate spring, I'm going to do both the garden book tag and the Spring Has Sprung book tag. The garden book tag was created by From the Dusty Bookshelf. I don't know if you can hear that, but my cat is currently chewing on my tripod. And it is about a bunch of different flowers that grow in their garden. So the first prompt is a rambler rose. A long read with multiple main characters and plot lines. It twists, turns, and puts on a show with language. And for that I had to pick the Davabad series by S.A. Chakraborty. Specifically, I recently read Kingdom of Copper, and there are 3 perspective characters, and there are a lot more important characters, and they all have their own motivations, and a lot of them have a long history with each other that we get to explore throughout the books. There's also a long history of the country and the specific city that it takes place in, and at least 3 different species or races that live in this city and have a long history of not getting along very well. And because of all those factors, it twists and turns all over the place as people take various actions. The second one is Hybrid Tea Rose. Modern and long-lasting, a collection of memorable 20th or 21st century poetry or short stories that stay with you for a long time. And a collection of short stories that has stayed with me for a long time is No Man, Woman Born. This is a collection of trans stories written by people with a variety of experiences and identities, and several of them are retellings of fairy tales or legends, and several of them are original fairy tales and legends. And I absolutely love the creativity and the beautiful love of fantasy that was very clear in all of them, as well as how they explored gender. And I think that one's going to stay with me for a long time. There were a lot of stories that really touched my heart. Number 3, Lilacs. A seasonally inspired book that you look forward to revisiting every year. And one of my favorite seasonally inspired books is Spinning Silver. It is inspired by winter. There is a personified Lord of Winter in this book. It takes place in winter, and it also takes place in a magical land of winter. And there are lots of themes of fire versus ice, and cold, and family, and found family, and friendships that are super strong. My cat's currently rummaging through my stuff behind me, crinkling some papers. Could you not? At least he responds when I talk to him. He does a little burr. Yeah. And it also has, of course, this very winter-themed cover, and I really enjoy rereading it. There are some really precious moments, and overall I really love all the lady characters we get to see. They are so strong in their various different ways, and they also care so deeply for each other. I'm very impressed with my putting books back into their place backwards skills. Then number 4, Bleeding Heart, a beautiful dark work that broke your heart. And because of the imagery, I just had to say Heart's Blood, which is a lot about bleeding from your heart, and also about this little plant called Heart's Blood that has medicinal properties and also ink making properties. And it is very much in a dark setting with a creepy dark forest and a creepy dark castle with a creepy dark library in it, with lots of secrets, haunted feelings, and some very dark things that happened in the past that resulted in a curse, because this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling complete with curse. But a very interesting new take on that, because the curse works a lot differently than most Beauty and the Beast stories. Number 5, Queen Anne's Lace, a work that is sometimes seen as a weed, but you see it for what it is, great literature. I don't know if I would say it's great literature. I just really like it. The ACOTAR series, there are people who don't like it, which is totally understandable. Whenever they say the reasons they don't like it, I'm like, yes, that's valid. I totally actually agree with that. I just like the other parts of it enough to make up for that. But there's really not that many. There are like unknown books that I really like, but not that many like super unpopular books that I like. Forget Me Not, an early bloomer, a work you read early in life and will never forget. And for that, I picked You Are Special by Max Lucado. First of all, one of the things that appealed to me when I was young are the gorgeous illustrations. And it is all about this little puppet creature that gets stickers stuck on them that say they are not a good puppet, and everybody else gets star stickers to tell them they are a good puppet. And it's about the little puppet going to his creator, and the creator peels off all of the stickers and tells him that it doesn't matter what the other puppets think of him, he is special. And I absolutely adore that. Pansies, a classic that's losing popularity. Once upon a time, everyone had them in their garden/library, but now they're being replaced with begonias. Which I really like both pansies and begonias. I think begonias are really hard to grow, at least for us. They are really easy to overwater, but they are also really easy to underwater, and they care a lot about humidity, which is something that you can't really control if you don't have a greenhouse. But they're so pretty, we just keep trying to grow them. They come in this particular shade of pinky orange that is like my favorite color. But for that one I picked Cinder and the rest of the Lunar Chronicles series. I feel like it was everywhere for a while a few years ago, and now it's more consigned to that's what we read a while ago and we really liked it, but now we're reading other things type of a feeling. Trillium, native to North America, in some provinces and states is illegal to pick these. A banned or challenged book, and I had to look up a list of challenged and banned books to try to figure out which I may have read. And so I found a few that I've read, but not very many. But one of them was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, which I assume could have been challenged because I think it does have mentions of sexual assault in it, but it may also have just been challenged because it talks about racism and calls people out for racism, and we wouldn't want that. Orchid, a work that was as challenging to read and maintain as an orchid, which I have managed to not kill orchids, but I've never managed to make them bloom after their initial bloom. And one book that was somewhat difficult to get through because of its complicatedness and its multiple worldsness, and with complicated characters, and especially complicated world building, was The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. And I really liked it, but it was a lot of work. I think it was as beautiful as an orchid. It takes a lot of concentration to read and a lot of thinking, and also a lot of accepting of you're not going to totally understand everything that's going on. Number 10, Fern, a book that sparked your initial interest in a topic before sporing into a whole TBR of books on that topic. And I actually read Beyond the Black Door before I started reading very many books with ace representation. I hadn't been able to find very many before that, but I read that a couple of months before Ace Back April, the first one that I took part in, and it was a good jumping off point where it made me realize that those books were available, and helped me figure out that that was really something that I was missing and that I really wanted to find in my books. Bonus question, what is your favorite flower? And my favorite flower is the peace rose. I absolutely adore that combination of yellow and pink, and every single one has a different sort of mix, and I really like getting to see that. Now on to the Spring Has Sprung book tag. This was created by the Naughty Librarian. The first prompt is flowers. All the flowers we love are blooming again. Pick a book that's a fresh take on a retelling, and I picked Of Beast and Beauty. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I heard about it from Kara of Wild Book Garden. And this is a sci-fi retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I really liked that whole element, and it has some magical sci-fi-ness to it where the science isn't fully explored, and so it makes it seem like it's magic, but it's approached in a very space opera. We came from space. We have technology that creates a bubble around our city. There are aliens outside of our city type situation. And the beast, instead of being cursed to be a beast, is just like that because of his genetics. He looks different from the people that the heroine has grown up around. And the curse has to do with roses, but they are entirely linked to the beauty's background rather than the beast. And I really love all the different ideas that come out of that book, and all of the examinations that it does of sexism, classism, ableism. I really enjoy those. Number 2, Cadbury mini eggs. Obviously the superior springtime candy of choice. Pick a book that you consider to be a sweet treat. And for me personally, I find the mini eggs a bit too sweet. They taste kind of like chocolate tasted when I went to the UK. It's got too much sugar in it for the amount of fat and chocolate. But I really love Peeps, which are completely made of sugar. A book that I would consider a sweet treat that I read relatively recently is Geek Girl. And I just really enjoyed the characters and the very sweet romantic relationship and the sweet relationships between the main character and her best friend, and between her and her father and her mother, and the very sweet stepdaughter relationship. Even though there were some complications and relational problems, I really liked how they were resolved, and I just felt really happy the entire time I was reading it, or listening to it, because I listened to it as an audiobook. Number 3, allergies. Seasonal allergies often make your eyes water. Pick a book that made you cry. And I cried a lot to The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one. I did a whole vlog about it, and there were quite a few tears in that vlog. I have really enjoyed Amanda Lovelace's poetry in the past, so that's why I decided to make a whole vlog about reading this one. And there was a particular section about being asexual in this one, and that one just tipped me over from emotional to actually crying. Number 4, spring cleaning. Out with the old and in with the new. Pick a book to unhaul. And I recently decided to unhaul The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness, and that is because I recently watched a review by the other Christine Who Reads that talked about all the nastiness in this series. I think she read it recently because the Netflix series is coming out, and there's not exactly homophobia, but dismissing of LGBTQ plus people's problems as not as bad as the problems of this straight white woman, with how she can't get together with her guy because he's a witch hunter and she's a witch or something, or he's a vampire. And there's also racism in it, and also some eugenics type stuff vibes, and I really am sensitive about eugenics stuff. So all of that combined, I don't think I'm ever going to read this series, so I might as well not hold on to. I think this is the second book in A Discovery of Witches. I might watch the Netflix version because it might like excise those parts. It's possible, but not super excited about it. Number 5, spring break. It's the perfect time for an adventure. Pick a book involving a road trip. And I don't read that many books involving road trips, but I just recently read Geekarella, and there is a road trip to a convention in that one, and it takes place in a big orange mobile coffee shop, I think is what it is, called The Pumpkin, and it's a Cinderella retelling complete with evil stepmother and stepsister, but with much less saved by getting married vibes and more saved by having a really great platonic friendship, and actually the two people on the cover are these platonic friends. and the hero isn't even on the cover because he is less important. He is a full perspective character. This is dual perspective like a lot of romances are, but he isn't what saves her from the evil stepmother, and I really liked that different way of looking at it. And I also really liked, of course, the whole going to a convention thing, and I didn't really expect it to like that much because I don't usually like Cinderella retellings all that much unless they're like really different from the original, but this one was really cute. Number 6, mating season. It's that time of year in the animal kingdom to make some babies. Pick a book with some smutty delights, and I am currently reading That Kind of Guy by Talia Hibbert, and all of the books I've read by her, the main characters have some kind of mental illness, neurodivergence, or disability, and I really enjoy that. So currently I'm reading one about a woman with POTS, and she also has depression, and the hero has had depression in the past, and so I really am enjoying that. And I just skimmed through a sex scene that was like 10 pages long, so and I fully read Talia Hibbert's other sex scenes on occasion. They're very smutty. This particular series, the Ravenswood series, I think is a little bit more so than her Get a Life Brown Sisters series, but very, very smutty, and but also a very good book. 7, rainbows. I just feel like spring is made of freaking rainbows. Pick a book featuring an LGBTQ plus character or characters, and I picked The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics because that is my favorite ever lesbian romance. It's really ridiculously sweet, and it also features 2 things that I really like, which are lady scientists who've been erased from history and the glorification of women's work, women's artistry in the form of embroidery, because one of the heroines is a astronomer and one of the heroines is a embroiderer, and I absolutely adore that. Number 8, Spring Awakening. This is one of my all-time favorite musicals, even though it's filled with completely dysfunctional characters. Pick a book that's also filled with dysfunctional characters, and I picked Howl's Moving Castle because everyone in that book has communication issues, and everyone in that book has functional issues, and I really love how they run around with their being very silly and not knowing what they're doing, and somewhat knowing what they're doing, but all being cross purposes to each other. And that's just a really fun book with dysfunctional characters. Number 9, In Like a Lion, Out Like a Lamb. This is a series that didn't get better as it went on, and I picked the Lunar Chronicles because I liked Cinder better than I liked the next one, Red Riding Hood, the one that's a Red Riding Hood retelling. I just didn't find anything to enjoy in that. I didn't like the main character nearly as much as I liked Cinder, and I haven't tried Cress yet, but I haven't really been encouraged by how much I didn't like the second book of the series. And so I take Olivia's Catastrophe, booked with Jamila, and Kiera the Scrivener to do either of these tags or both of these tags or neither of these tags if they don't feel like it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!